Hey guys, this is God of Politics, and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord that is linked down in the description. Join the mock-of that is down there. That's a very interesting thing we're doing, so make sure you join that. But in today's video, my video today is going to be why Donald Trump will lose the 2020 election. Now, this is obviously a very hyperbolic title. Nothing's guaranteed in politics. It's 4 months to the election, and 4 months can feel like a lifetime in politics. But I do believe that Donald Trump is going to lose this election. I'm going to be going through three main points as to why I do think Donald Trump is going to end up losing this election, and see what you think. You can disagree with some of my points, but these are points that I feel are valid, and I'm just going to be going through each one of them. Now, the first point is the polls. Polls in 2016 were often inaccurate, especially in the Rust Belt. Everywhere else, they were, within the margin of error. They were close enough for the most part. The national polls were actually quite right. Had Hillary winning by 3, she ended up winning by 2. It was just the Rust Belt polls that were quite off. The Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, especially Wisconsin. But, they can give us some insight in terms of trends. And, Donald Trump is in a much worse position than he was in 2016. This time, 2016 and Election Day in 2016. And obviously, these things can change. But as of right now, it's looking very bad. So first is his approval rating. If we look at his approval rating here, currently, it is at 41.6% approval rating. It is plummeted. It actually, during the crisis of the coronavirus, it went up a little bit. It went up to around 47 percentage points. And you have to remember, in 2016, they only got 46.8% of the vote. So he got around 47% of the vote. And that was enough for him to win. He could probably win with 45% of the vote, 44% of the vote even, if he just does well in the places he needs to do well in. But now his approval rating is tanked. It is now at 41.6 percentage points, meaning that a lot of what you see from Donald Trump is he tries to consolidate his base. He panders to the base by using certain rhetoric, trying to start a culture war, things like that. That's the rhetoric that he uses to try and consolidate his base. And you can see that he does have a very strong base. If you look at things like primary turnout, he had a very strong base, and he has a 40% base that is completely unwavering no matter what. And that's what he still has with him despite everything that's going on. But it's going to be hard for him to expand further on that base, and that's what the polls are showing right now. You have less undecided vote than 2016 because people are really just going out and choosing between either candidate, and aside from Trump's base, he doesn't have much concrete support. That's as for his approval rating. If we want to go to his job approval on the coronavirus here, we can see it's even, it's even lower, it's actually the same, 41.6%, but it peaked, it went up to the 50s even, and now it's just fallen completely. And this issue is not going to be abated anytime soon. If we actually want to look at the data here, we can see we had a new high of cases yesterday, 44,726 cases. And Donald Trump does say, a lot of people are saying that it's because of increased testing. Sure, we've had increased testing, but the rate of testing is increasing, the hospitalizations are increasing, the deaths are a lagging indicator, but they're starting to increase as well. So this is not just an issue of doing more testing, which, as Donald Trump claims, and this is not going to be an issue that's going to go away anytime soon, We stayed around the 20,000s here, but we're starting to see an increase now. If we want to go to many of these areas too, some of these big areas of the country, Arizona is having a second wave here, if you want to call it a first wave. California is having it too. Yeah, it's having the same issues here. Florida is having big issues here, record number of cases. Georgia, record number of cases as well as, for example, states like Texas, they're having record number of cases. So this issue is not going to be gone anytime soon. And saying that it's just due to testing is not enough. The White House just had another briefing yesterday for the first time in a while, because even they're realizing that this is going to be a big issue, and unless they can do something about it, it's going to be a big problem. But it showed up in the polls. Joe Biden's ahead by 9.4 percentage points now. You can weight the polls, you can say it's even less than that, but the fact of the matter is that Joe Biden is doing quite well right now. This is as for the national polls, and we've known for a while that national polls are usually accurate. If it says Joe Biden's going to win by 9.4 percentage points, it's probably not going to be outside of the margin of error. The least he could win by in a very worst case scenario for the polls would be he wins by 6, which would still be most likely an electoral college victory for him. And if we just want to go state by state too, we can see Wisconsin, he's up by 8, which is more than Hillary is up by. Florida, he's up by 7, which is way more than Hillary's up by because the polls on election day actually had Donald Trump up. Michigan has Biden up 8.6. Pennsylvania has Biden up 6.3. North Carolina has Biden up 2.4. A state that wasn't really a swing state in 2016, now a swing state. Arizona now has Biden up by 4 percentage points. And people say, obviously these things can change, and I completely agree, these things can change. But another thing we've seen is that Biden is much more consistent than Hillary Clinton was. And so, these polls are not very good for Donald Trump. They're objectively very bad for Donald Trump, and you have to look at it as objectively as possible. The polls are the polls. They can be off, they can be misleading, and that's completely true, but it's one of the main points, at least, as to why I do believe Donald Trump will lose. The second point is the trends. If you just want to look at trends between certain states, especially states in the Sun Belt, they are not looking good for the Republicans. Even in states like the Rust Belt, which trended so heavily red, the suburban areas continued to trend to the Democrats. It's these suburban areas with college-educated white voters that are becoming more Democrat. If you look at Arizona, for example, you can see Maricopa County here went to Donald Trump by 2.9 percentage points here. If we want to look at that county in 2012, it went to Mitt Romney by just under 12 percentage points. So that's a huge trend in the state's biggest county here. And it's a lot of the issue because Donald Trump's maxed out in some of these rural areas he does very well in, that Democrats historically have done very well in. But the Republicans are starting to lose those suburban areas, and unless they can win them back, these trends are being exacerbated by Donald Trump, but they're not because of Donald Trump. It's happening to Republicans down ballot, to governor races, to everything, you name it. It's happening at all levels of government. It's just been exacerbated by Donald Trump, and that's going to be another issue that dooms his election campaign. And if we want to look at Texas, for example, we can see certain counties here, like, for example, Tarrant County went to Donald Trump by 8. If you look at 2012, that county went to Mitt Romney by 16. If you want to look at counties like Fort Bend County, went to Hillary Clinton by 6. That county went to Mitt Romney by 6, so that's a 12-point trend. If we want to look at, some of these urban counties went to Hillary by 13, for example. Mitt Romney, Obama only won it by 0.1 percentage points. That's another 12-point trend. So it's these trend in these big county areas. If we want to look at some of these areas, Donald Trump already has, 80%, 90%, 70% in some of these areas. There's not much room for him to gain, and these are smaller counties too, whereas Democrats have a lot of room to gain in areas like Tarrant County, Dallas County, Harris County, Fort Bend County, Travis County, Hayes County. There's so many areas that are huge counties that Democrats have to gain, and this is all part of the trends. And you can completely admit that the Rust Belt, for example, is trending to the right. States like Ohio, states like Iowa, but they trended so much to the right in 2016, and some of these states, they're still traditionally blue states. They're still run by Democrats. They're still run by Democrats at all levels. As Donald Trump barely won these states. It's not as if they're completely red states now. And another example, the final example, look at is Georgia, for example. Look at Cobb County here. Hillary Clinton won it by 2.1. Mitt Romney won this county by 13. That's a 15-point swing. If you want to look at another one, for example, Gwinnett County went to Hillary Clinton by just under 6, went to Mitt Romney by 10 here. So that's, another 16-point swing here. And if we want to look at some of these areas, we look at areas like this. Mitt Romney was getting high 70s in these areas. Many of that kind of vote, but Donald Trump is getting a similar amount of vote. How much room does he really have to gain? He gained in so many of these rural areas, but it's hard to gain in some areas when you already have 80% of the vote. So that's going to be another issue for Donald Trump, and nobody's guaranteeing that, for example, Georgia is going to go blue, or Texas is going to go blue, or even Arizona is going to go blue. While they definitely have a chance to go blue, that's not really the whole point of this. The point is that it's pointing to suburban trends, and the trends are just as important as the polls. They're probably more important than anything else. But we'll get to our third point here, which may kind of stupid to think about, but the third point as to why Donald Trump will lose the election is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the reason that Donald Trump will lose the election, plain and simple. It's not going to be to what Joe Biden does, it's going to be to what Donald Trump does. You usually in presidential elections have two very popular candidates because they've been nominated by their party, and it's a fight between who can win over those moderate voters, those centrist voters, those voters who could go to either party. Now you have a situation where you have two unpopular people. It's just that Donald Trump is more unpopular. As he was in 2016, but Hillary Clinton was also historically unpopular. Joe Biden is not unpopular in the same way that Hillary Clinton was. People are more looking at the hatred that they have towards Donald Trump. That's the perspectives of so many Democratic voters, which can turn them out, as well as people in the Donald Trump's base, and especially in those suburban areas that are turning away from the Republican Party. And if Donald Trump, we have two crises going on right now. We have the coronavirus, and we have the issue of policing, police brutality, things like that. Donald Trump has low approval ratings on both of them, lower than his approval rating overall. So what does that tell you? Normally in a crisis, the leader ends up becoming more popular. You think Bush after 9/11, for example. There's so many examples of this where the leader becomes more popular during a crisis. And the reason Donald Trump hasn't become more popular is because he labeled himself as a populist. And in 2016, it worked because you had 8 years of a Democratic president. You have people who feel disillusioned by the system. Donald Trump come in as a populist flamethrower who can say all of these things, and it helps him. But that's not what people want when you have a situation where there's a crisis and you need somebody to unite the country. And even for people who do support Donald Trump, I don't believe that they would say that he is uniting the country. Most people would not say that. I don't think it makes any sense to say that. And that's going to hurt Donald Trump because Donald Trump needs to have a united base and people that can also support him and outside of his base, and that's really not what he has right now. And his actions alone are what's causing Joe Biden to be so much up in the polls. Joe Biden isn't actually speaking very much. He's not saying very many things. It's that Donald Trump's actions are hurting him the most. And that's the case for many elections. You have referendums in many elections. But Donald Trump is completely different here. He is a completely different president, and we're in a completely different circumstance that, Donald Trump had a chance to become a lot more popular as he did at the beginning. But then people started to see that he was not helping the country in the ways that he could have. And that's one of the reasons why he's going to lose. And it sounds stupid to say why Donald Trump will lose. One of the main points is Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is, hurting himself when he talks, when he says actions, and while it may help his base, while it may help his very vocal base, it's not going to help him overall. And if we look at these trends, for example, you don't really see a path to win for Donald Trump. You give Donald Trump Iowa, you give him Ohio, you give him Texas, you give him Georgia, you give him Nebraska's 2nd district, you give him North Carolina even, you also give him Florida. But then you give Democrats Minnesota, you give Democrats Michigan, you give Democrats Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, and you can even, in that situation, take away Arizona. You give Democrats New Hampshire, obviously. In that situation, Democrats would still be able to win. They only have to flip 3 states that Donald Trump only won by less than a percentage point. And do people seriously think that Donald Trump is going to upset the polls in even more states this time, have a more insurmountable upset in a state, all the same states plus Arizona, plus North Carolina, plus Florida that Hillary Clinton wasn't even winning in? It's going to be very difficult for Donald Trump to win. I do believe that Donald Trump is going to end up losing this election as of now. Donald Trump could end up winning this election, and, I'll be surprised by that. And many things can change in 4 months in politics, as I just said before. 4 months in politics can be an eternity. And come election day, this November 3rd, I could be making a video saying, Donald Trump will win. It's completely possible that Donald Trump can win this election, but I do see the chances as slim, 20%, 15%, maybe even lower than that. I just don't see a path to victory for Donald Trump. And, I might eat my words come November, as many people did in 2016, but as of now, I do not see a path to victory for Donald Trump. And those are the 3 points why I believe Donald Trump will lose: the polls, the trends, and Donald Trump. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord, join the mock-up that we are doing. It's a very fun thing that we're doing. So make sure you join it. It's a very interesting thing. That's linked down in the description. Join the Discord. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.